The city was always awake. Cars rushed, horns blared, people hurried with their bags, phones, and coffee cups. Everyone seemed too busy, too important, too focused on their own lives to notice anything outside their path. Among them was Clara, a young woman who worked at a quiet bookstore on the corner of Fifth Street. She didn't have much. Her salary was small, her clothes simple, and her life unremarkable to most. But Clara had something rare, a heart that noticed. She noticed the old man who struggled to cross the street. She noticed the cashier, whose smile never reached her eyes. And every morning, she noticed Elias. Elias sat on the same corner near the bakery. His beard was long, his clothes torn, his hands rough. People passed him by as though he was a shadow on the sidewalk. Some turned their faces away. Others muttered, "Get a job," without knowing his story. But Clara never walked past him without looking. Every morning, she gave him something, sometimes a piece of bread, sometimes an apple, sometimes just a smile. And though the city never noticed Elias, Clara's small kindnesses began to plant seeds of hope. One evening, the sky broke open with heavy rain. The streets emptied, umbrellas filled the sidewalks, and people rushed home. Clara, closing the bookstore late, walked past Elias's spot. He was sitting against the wall, shivering, trying to stay dry under the narrow ledge of a cafe awning. Without hesitation, Clara untied her woolen scarf, the only one she owned. It wasn't new, it had a little tear near the edge, but it was warm. She draped it over Elias's shoulders. "You'll catch your death in this weather," she said gently. Elias looked at her, stunned. His voice cracked. Why are you kind to me? Everyone else passes, as if I don't exist." Clara smiled. "Because you do exist. And that's enough." That night, Elias did something he hadn't done in years. He cried. Not because of hunger or pain, but because someone saw him. Elias had not always been homeless. Once, he had a family, a steady job at a factory, and a little girl who adored him. But tragedy came suddenly. A car accident took his wife. Grief swallowed him whole. He stopped going to work, stopped answering calls, stopped living. One loss led to another. His daughter went to live with relatives. He lost his job, then his home. Shame kept him away from his child. How could he face her when he was broken? So Elias drifted into the streets. He became invisible to the world until Clara's kindness began to pierce through his darkness. Clara's kindness wasn't grand. She didn't give Elias large sums of money. She didn't solve all his problems. But she was consistent. She brought him sandwiches when she could. She sat with him for a few minutes after work. Sometimes, when she had nothing else, she simply said, "Stay strong, Elias. Tomorrow will be better." To most, those words might seem ordinary. To Elias, they were anchors. They reminded him that someone believed he still had a tomorrow worth living for. But change doesn't come easily. One cold winter night, Elias thought about giving up. His body ached, hunger gnawed at him, and loneliness pressed like a weight on his chest. He whispered into the night, "Maybe they're right. Maybe I am nothing." Just then, Clara appeared. She handed him a steaming cup of soup. "I thought you might need this," she said. That cup of soup, that single moment of warmth, saved his life that night. Because Elias had been planning to end everything, but Clara's act pulled him back. He didn't tell her. He just held the soup, tears mixing with the steam, whispering, "Thank you." One morning, Clara arrived with a flyer in her hand. "They're hiring at the community shelter," she said excitedly. "It's not glamorous, but it's a start." Elias hesitated. His voice shook. "What if I fail? What if they laugh at me?" Clara placed the flyer in his hand and looked him in the eyes. "Then you'll try again. But you won't fail, Elias, because I believe in you." Those words cracked something inside him. For the first time in years, Elias decided to stand up and try. The shelter hired him as a cleaner. It was humble work, sweeping floors, mopping halls, but it gave him dignity. At first, he struggled. He felt out of place among the staff, ashamed of his past. But Clara encouraged him each day. "Don't give up," she said. This is just your beginning. Step by step, Elias began rebuilding his life. For years, Elias had written unsent letters to his daughter. They were stained with tears, filled with apologies and love he never delivered. With Clara's encouragement, he finally mailed them. Weeks later, a letter came back. His daughter had read every word. She forgave him. She wanted to see him again. Elias wept like a child. For the first time in a decade, he felt the chains of shame begin to break. Elias worked hard, saved his earnings, and visited his daughter. Their reunion was emotional. She embraced him tightly, whispering, "I thought I lost you forever." He looked at her, tears streaming down his face. "You almost did, but someone's small act of love saved me." Years passed. Elias was no longer the man on the street corner. He became a volunteer at the shelter, helping others who were lost in the same darkness he once knew. Every time he handed someone food or offered encouragement, he remembered Clara's scarf, her smile, her soup. And when people asked him why he cared so deeply, Elias answered, "Because once, when I was invisible, someone chose to see me, and she saved my life." Dear listener, this story is not just about Clara and Elias. It is about you. You may never know how much a smile, a kind word, or a simple act can mean to someone. You may never know that your kindness saved someone's life.
So don't hold back.
Say the kind word. Give the smile. Offer the small act of love. Because love doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes, the smallest act is the one that saves a life. If life feels heavy, if you feel unseen like Elias once did, remember, your story is not over. Someone believes in you. And just as a small act of love saved Elias, your persistence, your hope, and the kindness of others can save you too. And if you have strength, be someone's Clara. You never know whose life you might save with just a smile, a word, or a simple scarf on a rainy night. For more motivational, inspirational, and educative stories, kindly subscribe to this channel.